Hi, my name is Melvina. I just wanted to come and tell you a little bit about myself and my role at ICYA and some of my dreams and goals for my position here. But first off, I just want to introduce myself a little bit, maybe allow you to know who I am and where I've come from. My name is Melvina. I have 6 beautiful children. Ages from 16 to 2 years old. I have a husband. We've been married for almost 5 years now. So we have a family. I'm 36 years old. I grew up in the inner city most of my life. Most of my life I've lived in the inner city of Winnipeg. If it wasn't the North End, it was, other parts of Winnipeg, other parts of the core areas of Winnipeg. Most of my life I grew up in poverty. I grew up in the systems of maybe social assistance or childcare. I grew up in different systems most of my life. My mother was a unique woman. She was a unique woman. I loved her. I loved her to death. She was a beautiful soul, but we had some issues growing up. We had some issues in our childhood. She had some addictions. She had some challenges that ultimately poured out onto us. I have a brother. My only sibling is a younger brother. He's 6 years younger than me. So it was me and him most of our lives, and my mom. And we grew up, in the inner city. We lived from paycheck to paycheck. It was hard. It was a hard life. It was a hard life to live. It was a hard life to live, and God was surely with us. He protected us. He guided us. He was with us. I went through a lot of abuse as a child. Physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. Went through a lot of that, and to add that on with actually living in poverty, living in the inner city, living on social assistance, it was very, very challenging. It was a very, very challenging childhood for me, but I got through it. I got through it, and by the grace of God, I got through it. And when I was 17 years old, my mother passed away. She passed away, and she left behind me and my brother. And I was only 17 years old. My brother was 11 at the time, and I was forced to grow up fast. My brother was forced to grow up fast. I was a child. I was a child, and my mom had passed away, and it was quite challenging because we lived in the inner city. We didn't have much, and just like that, we had nothing, and we had to start off from scratch, from nothing. And so being 17 years old, I got a job. I got a few jobs, and I tried to make ends meet. But being as young as I was, I got involved in a lot of situations that I shouldn't have got involved with. I got involved with a relationship with a local drug dealer, and it took me down a road that I'm not proud of. A road that taught me a lot, but also hurt me a lot. I was involved in an abusive relationship, a very, very abusive relationship. It almost seemed like I went from one extreme to another extreme. It really ate away at me, ate away at my self-esteem, ate away at my self-worth, ate away at who I was inside. And I was very young still. I was 18, 19 years old. And I was in this relationship for a couple of years. And one by one, he stripped everything away from me and isolated me to a place of complete dependency on him. And that life, the life of the gang life, the drug dealing life, is a very hard cycle, especially when you're in it. And it's a cycle. It just keeps going, right? And my brother was very young, so he went to go live with family members at that time, in that period of my life, because I wasn't able to take care of him. I wasn't able to take care of him. So There came a time in my life, though, I was about 20 years old. I was 19, 20 years old, and I felt that something needed to change. I felt that something needed to change. I needed to leave this relationship, and I needed to take care of my brother, and I needed to be what I needed to be for him. And so I worked hard, and I got away from that relationship. It was a very difficult cycle to break, but I broke it. I was able to break free of that. And me and my brother got our own place, our first place. I was, again, 19, 20 years old. We got our first place with Manitoba Housing in a core area again. So I'm just barely an adult, and I have a 12, 13-year-old with me. And I got pregnant. I was pregnant. I had my baby, my first child, my son. I had him when I was 20 years old. And we lived on, because I had no means to support us once. I had no means or ways to support us, so we were in the system. I was on social assistance. I was living in Manitoba Housing. I was in a core area of the inner city, and again, I found myself, I need a change. I need something different. I need something different, and I decided to go back to school. I went back to school, and I graduated from school when I was 24 years old with a high school diploma. It was hard. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of courage. It took a lot of, busing. It took a lot of, pushing my stroller to the daycare and then to school, and then going back from school to the daycare and picking up my baby and going home. It was very hard. It was challenging. It was difficult, but I graduated. And when I was 25 years old, I went into my first year of university. My first year of university, I got involved in another relationship, and it sidetracked me. And I dropped out of university, and I got into another cycle of this relationship, this abusive relationship, this mental, physical, emotional abuse. And I was in that for a little while, and I was in it, and it got very, very challenging, very difficult, very hard to embrace. Everything that I worked hard for just disappeared. It got to a point where my brother is now older, and I now have 4 kids. And I'm I'm living in the system. I'm living on social assistance. I'm living in the core area. I'm living in inner city. I'm in Manitoba Housing, and I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing. And I hit rock bottom. I was addicted to antidepressants. I was addicted to pain medication. I was addicted to anxiety medication. All these different things, I was addicted to them. I thought that I needed them to help me survive. I thought I needed them to heal me. I thought I needed them to change me. I felt like I needed them, and I got addicted to them. And one day I tried to commit suicide. I was in a place of complete destruction. I was in a place of my rock bottom. And I remember this happening. I remember I took everything that I had, every medication that I had, and I took them, and I was ready, and I remember looking over, and I remember my body fading. And I looked over, and my daughter, who was only about 9 months, was in her crib. And I saw her, and she was staring at me. And the fear of God just came upon me. And I knew right there that I did not want to die, that I wanted to be her mother, that I wanted to see her grow, and I wanted to see her become the young woman that God has created her to be. And right at that moment, I called out to Jesus, and he came. And he came. It was almost like he just came down to me, and he lifted me up, and he sat me on the foot of my bed. And from that moment forward, I made that choice to follow Christ. I made that choice to follow him and to surrender my life to him. And I have done that. I gave my life to him when I was 30 years old, and I'm 36 now. It's been 6 years. And since he's come into my life, since He's come into my life. Everything around me has changed. Everything for my children have changed. Everything in our home has changed. God has done a great work. And I truly can stand before you and say that I'm healed. I could say that I'm set free. I could say that there's a difference in me. There's a change in me. And it was through him. And, that's my story. I grew up in the inner city. I was a child. I went through all the cycles, all the systems, abuse. I went from relationship to relationship, abusive relationship to abusive relationship. I came to a place where I had no self-worth, no outlook on life, where I saw anything beautiful. All I saw was destruction. All I saw was I didn't see anything that I felt was beautiful or worth living for, until that moment that he came and he changed my life. And I've given him my all. I've surrendered everything to him. And now God has brought me full circle, and I'm back in the inner city of Winnipeg. God has opened a door for me to work here at Inner City Youth Alive as a community minister. So I'm a community minister at ICYA, and I'm doing exactly what I believe God has prepared me to do. I'm doing exactly what he's created me to do, and that is to be someone, a positive influence, a positive relationship, a positive person in someone's life that just needs to see hope, that wants to see that it's possible, that wants to see that, change can happen, because it can, because it happened with me. And so my heart is for women. My heart is for women. It's my heart. I'm drawn to women. I'm drawn to women here at ICYA, the relationships I'm building. I've been here since August, and the relationships I've been building are with women. And my heart is for women, and to see them healed and transformed, and to encounter the love and the grace and the peace of God in their own lives. And I do it in my church. I do it on my spare time. Like, the relationships that I build are with women, and I believe that God has prepared me for this avenue, prepared me to be here in the inner city, because I've lived it. I was that child. I was that teenager. I was that young adult, and I was that woman that grew up in the inner city, and grew up here, and grew up in everything, like grew up in that hurt, grew up in that destruction, grew up in the systems, grew up in it. And through God, through Christ, through him helping me and guiding me and being with me, he's changed so much in my life. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful, and I'm so honored that I'm here as a community minister. But I do have a need. I was able to come into my position under an initiative. It's called the Indigenous Leadership Initiative. So I was able to start working and start building my relationships with all these women that God has just been opening up doors for, avenues for me to go in, and to connect with them, to walk alongside with them, and to just build relationships with them, and to get to know them, get to know what they're going through, get to know the things that they're going through. And a lot of the things are the same things I went through. So being able to connect with these women, and but I do have a need, because my salary is based on support. I have a lot of people who pray with me, a lot of people who stand with me, a lot of people who encourage me in many different ways. But one way is I do need support financially. I do want to continue the work that God has called me to do. I feel that I am a positive role model. I feel that this is the place that God has called me to be, and I know that there are people out there that will connect with this story, and that will decide to support, if it's a one-time support, if it's ongoing, whatever it may be. But I would love to be able to raise my salary for the next year, so I can continue doing the work of God and continue to just be that light and be that avenue of support and encouragement, and that all things are possible through Christ. I really truly believe that I've been called to the inner city. I've been called to ICYA for a reason, and I would love to continue in that support. So if you could support me in any way, I would greatly appreciate that, and it would help me reach more women that are in the same similar situation that I was in, and just to give them a hope. Bye.